Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you tuning in. This will be part 2 of the Yellowstone Bigfoot Campfire Stories by Rusty Wilson. I'll be reviewing the last 4 Sasquatch stories from that book, summarizing them. If you like what you hear, make sure you pick up a copy of his book, read the stories for yourself. This is just a quick review of what the stories are, kind of the gist of them. The book is really well written and definitely a page turner. So if you're interested in Sasquatch, you're going to Yellowstone, make sure you check it out. Make sure you wait until the end, and I'll kind of summarize some key points from all the stories. Their hot spots, hot times of the year to see Sasquatch. So with that, let's jump into these tales. We got story number 5. This one was called The Bigfoot Taxi. This story was about a guy, and really there wasn't a lot of dates on these, which I kind of found a little bit challenging, but I did the best I could to figure out the time frame. It sounds like this was about the 1980s because people didn't have cell phones, so not a lot of these stories people had cell phones to make recordings or whatever, and just based off of the technology they mentioned using, that is my best estimate. So this guy in this tale, he was hired to plow the roads of Yellowstone there during the winter months. And he was saying specifically by Yellowstone Lake, where the marina is now, which one of these films, these videos going during me talking is me swimming in that area. There was an area that always creeped him out. He had a weird vibe when he was driving in. He thought he got chased by something in that area. And so one day he was plowing and he felt something hit the roof of his snowplow, like a big thud. And really, he just continued going. He was kind of freaked out. He didn't want to see what it was. He plowed all the way up to the pass. It's called the High Divide area up there in Yellowstone. So he plowed all the way up there. And then he saw what he described as a Sasquatch-esque creature, a young one. He said he could tell because it was smaller, jump off the roof of his snowplow and quickly scurry up a slope on the side of the road. And he said he got a pretty good look at the creature. It was definitely a gangly, juvenile-esque, fur-covered, bipedal creature, not wearing any clothes, just covered in fur with what he described as large footprints, because he got out and looked at the footprints. So he's pretty freaked out. He took off. He didn't really mention it to anybody. Then it turns out like they had like rotating shifts. And so a couple days later, there was a shift that reported a avalanche in that same area. And they said that during the avalanche, they found the body of a creature that fit the description. And the supervisor went out there and they found kind of the remnants of a young Sasquatch under a bunch of debris from a landslide. And the supervisor let on that he wasn't really surprised by this and that it was kind of like a common occurrence. Those creatures were there. And he advised the snowplow guys to, other than recover the body, just to push it into a nearby gully. And so that's what they did. And the narrator of that story went on to say that presumably that body is still there. The next story, story number 6, it's called A Hot Winter Bath. And this takes place at the Yellowstone Lodge, which is right by Old Faithful. The couple, it was an elderly couple. And again, this sounds like it might have been even the 70s or 80s. They were staying there over the winter. They were supposed to stay several weeks. They reported they could see Old Faithful from their room there at the lodge. And they reported bison acting really strangely, hanging out, being really friendly towards humans and getting really close, like they were wanting protection from something there that was hunting them. The couple reports that at night they heard a lot of like strange noises. They couldn't really describe them very well, but just like strange hollering noises. So they were hiking in that area one day, and if you've ever been up there, it's like a whole basin of geysers. It's Old Faithful, but then also just a whole huge area of these different geysers. So they were off hiking, and again, it was not as developed as it is today. So they were off on one of these side geysers, and they saw in the distance what they described as two Sasquatch creatures that were brown in color, holding a third Sasquatch-esque creature that was small, that was white in colored, and kind of had like they said it was like an ugly face. And the two bigger Sasquatches were upset, holding the smaller Sasquatch over a geyser, having a conversation about what to do with this smaller Sasquatch. And even though they couldn't understand what was being said, they got that the two bigger Sasquatches were quite upset. And one of them wanted to throw that little one into the geyser, and the other one wanted to let the little one go, was the gist that they had. And so the two bigger Sasquatches ended up having a brief scuffle, and the one that wanted to throw the smaller one in dropped the small white one, and that small white one took off into the woods, and they both chased after it, screaming and yelling. So this couple was quite distraught from seeing this, and they went back to the lodge, and they checked out early. And when the supervisor of the hotel asked them why, they kind of told that story. And the supervisor did not seem surprised that they had seen these creatures, refunded their money, and really didn't question them much about that. The next one, and I kind of found this to be one of the more interesting stories. It was called The Tranquil Bigfoot, and this was a report of a wildlife biologist. And again, this is like 80s, 90s, so this is a little newer, but again, not really the time that they had cell phones. So he was hired to tranquilize wolves in the Lamar Valley and put radio tracker collars on their neck. So he was spending a lot of time up there in the Lamar Valley, which, if you're familiar with Yellowstone, is one of the most remote areas. It's one of the only places that you can kind of semi-consistently see wolves and grizzlies and a lot of these other more reclusive animals. So he'd been out in the field for a while trying to track these wolves, and he heard what he described as painful yelling that sounded very human-like. He followed the yelling, and he came across, again, what he described as like a juvenile Sasquatch with its foot trapped in an old bear trap. And it was sitting there screaming and yelling. He described it as being like roughly 6 foot-ish tall, covered in hair, kind of skinny. And so he had his tranquilizer gun for tranquilizing wolves. He shot the Sasquatch. He said it took like 3 shots before it ended up passing out. It passed out. He went and removed the trap from the thing's leg. He rendered first aid to the creature the best he could. He put antiseptic on the wound and dressed the wound, and then left and went and hid in the bushes while this thing came to. When this thing came to, it kind of looked around and then took off into the woods. And then the biologist goes on to say years later, he was talking to colleagues that did biology work in that area, and several of them reported seeing a Sasquatch walking with a limp in the area. So, very interesting tale. And the last one, which was probably one of my least favorite of the book, this was called The Yellowstone Whisperer. And it goes that this guy, he was new to hiking. He went hiking in a remote area of Yellowstone. He woke up, he had like a hammock sleeping arrangement, and he woke up in the middle of the night being strangled by what he described as a Sasquatch. And he had heard noises during the night and was really paranoid of bears, so he had his bear spray handy. And he turned around and he blasted the Sasquatch in the face with the bear spray. causing the Sasquatch to kind of recoil away. And then the guy was able to get away, and he was not very far from his car, ended up hiking back to his car, and went in to receive medical attention, and they saw the handprints on his neck, and they're like, hey, what could have caused this? And he kind of told them what had happened. And really nobody seemed surprised. And there was one more story. It was called Hike Your Own Hike. And it was about a hiker that he was on like the Pacific Crest Trail, or one of those long trails. And he had a strange feeling when he went to Yellowstone. Some other hikers tried to warn him, hey, stay out of this area. There's weird creatures in that area that, you know, are trying to scare people out. And he did not believe them. He went into this area. He was camping, but again, at night he started to hear weird noises. So he posted up. He actually climbed a tree, and he was scouting where he could see where his tent was. Two creatures attacked his tent in the middle of the night and tore it open, and were quite mad when he was not inside the tent. And then they proceeded to look for him. But because it was a thermal area with like lots of geysers and like, you know, different heat elements, if you've ever been in that area, it really stinks like rotten eggs. Sulfur, it stinks like sulfur, which smells like rotten eggs. So these creatures supposedly looked for him, couldn't really find him, ended up taking off. He was able to hike back out of the park without his supplies. And he ran into two other hikers and tried to warn them. But just like he did not listen to the other hiker, they did not listen to him, and proceeded on. So we have a couple key takeaways here. So hot areas of Yellowstone. If you want to go and have a Sasquatch encounter in Yellowstone, these are the hot areas from the 3 books I read. Number 1, Yellowstone Lake. A lot of the tales took place at or around Yellowstone Lake. It sounds like a really good place if you want to experience Sasquatch. Number 2, Lamar Valley. That's in the northeast of the park. There's an exit and entrance up there. It's one of the most remote areas. The other tip is around geysers and during winter time. So there's not a lot of people in the park during the winter. So just like buffalo and other wildlife, a lot of speculation that Sasquatch goes near or Sasquatch creatures, I guess more than one, go near the geysers during the winter to try to stay warm. So what do you think? Do you think these stories are true? Again, Rusty is a fly fishing guide that claims these are all true stories with some alteration that his clients have shared with him during these fishing trips. I mean, I think some of them, I think all of them probably have some truth in them, and those people probably believe they saw or experienced Sasquatch. Do you have any Sasquatch Yellowstone stories yourselves? You know, leave them down there in the comments. I respond to pretty much every comment you guys leave. Make sure you like and subscribe, and leaving a comment really helps with the algorithm, so I can get these boosted. That helps keep me motivated. And make sure if you like tales like this, you know, check out Rusty's books. He's written several books on Sasquatches at Glacier, Tetons, Montana, Wyoming. So he's been doing these guides for a long time and has just tons of stories to share. And I'll see you guys next time.